So would you like to test your screen share once?
Hello?
Yeah, would you like to test your screen share?
Yeah. Can I do that now?
Yeah, please share your screen.
Hello.
Yeah, we can see your screen perfect.
Is it clear?
Yeah, perfectly clear.
Sound
Yeah, all clear.
audible. No, I just change the slides. Okay.
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay, right. Stop share. Right. You
സാറേ സുമേഷ് സാർ നമ്മളെ നോളജിക്കനെ പറ്റിക്കാണല്ലോ സാറേ. ന്യൂറോളജിക്കാർക്ക് നമ്മൾ പറ്റിക്കുകയാണ്. Good evening, Patil sir. Good evening. Dr. Patil, good evening. Suma sir, kalka mere. Sir, unmute.
Very good evening to all.
Yeah,
Good evening,
Sharma
sir.
sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Dr. Sukumaran, sir. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Patil. Very long since we met. Even
Keshwal, sir. Good evening.
Sharma, yeah, good evening, sir.
Very good evening, sir.
Ajay Patel, you were not there for the allergy conference last time with Nagpur. I haven't met you there.
Actually, I missed the conference. I was out of session, sir.
Oh, okay.
For the first session, I was there.
Ah,
Yeah,
but
the
I could
first
not
day.
see you.
Yeah.
But
I was there.
I could not see you.
Yeah, Kingsway Hospital.
Okay, right.
Sharma sir, how are you?
Absolutely fine, sir.
Yeah,
And how are you, sir?
fine, fine.
Is it raining there, sir? In your
Yeah.
place?
Memories
Yeah,
of
it started
Agra.
raining. Just now it is raining. And a mini earthquake was there in Idiki district.
Very good evening,
just
ma'am.
now.
Very good evening,
Geeta Patil,
ma'am.
madam. Good evening.
Sir, good evening, Sukamaran sir, Anand
Yeah,
Kishore.
yeah. Geeta Patil, good evening.
Geeta Patil madam, for panel discussion, Bindu sir will change see the panelist slide.
I don't know, I have to ask him, sir.
Kishore Ben sir.
He has
We have
not
to-
joined. I have sent to Akshita also, because here our internet connection sometimes is causing problem.
Hmm.
he
It
will
is everywhere causing, madam, due to load of on internet.
Not that rain, sir.
And also it's raining in Kottayam also. It is heavy rain
Yes.
now.
We should tell Kishore Bindur sir to join, I think so. Sukanta sir?
Just calling him. Okay.
എവിടെ സാറേ 3 വിളിക്ക് എവിടെ ഉണ്ടായത് ഇടുക്കിയില്ല.
Hmm. Again,
Huh?
Sukumaran sir.
yeah. Some say.
How are you, sir?
Oh, good evening. Fine, fine. Tell me.
Sir Sharma sir, Ati Patil sir,
Yeah.
Anand sir,
Ah,
all good, all
Hi,
good.
hi, Sobi Shankar. How are you?
Anand, Anand, you please see that neurology people. I have sent a letter to PM Gunya also, Mohammed Gunya also, but he is not responding. Mini will told me that he will send soon. He told me that he is writing. And
sir told it's already it is ready. You want to some minor modification.
but he has not responded to my letter.
Okay, I'll send it.
Then Maya Mary Thomas, tell Maya Mary Thomas.
Maya Thomas also it is ready. I'll send it within 2 weeks. Means when we are in Agra, she told like,
Once again, just send a.
oh yeah, I remember.
Her number is not with me. Kunju, I will tell Kunju once again.
So Kunju, Anu Verma, then Maya Thomas, who else? Mini.
Mini, I have told her. No, there is no need to call her once again. Anub, I will call once, Anub also, because he is contesting for the secretary post. He called me 2 weeks back.
Good evening, Garg sir.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Very good evening, there, sir.
Namaskar, sir. Sarma, sir. Sukuramaran, sir.
Sir, what has happened, sir? Kishore, sir, your video is not coming.
Wait a minute. Stop video. I don't know. It should come.
Chantil sir is ready to get joined, no?
Yes.
Good evening,
Please call
everybody.
RG, please call Dr.
Okay. I will call, sir.
Dr. Patel, good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening, Sukanta, sir.
Good evening, all, sir. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Geeta madam, namaste.
Namaste, sir.
Good evening to all.
Good
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
Hello, good evening, Sukumaran, sir.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Kishore, sir, what happened to your laptop?
I have taken a new one. Let me see. That's why there are some issues. Yeah. Just a minute.
Sugandha sir, Sugandha Chatterjee sir, good evening.
Yes, good evening. Good evening.
Good evening,
Good
sir.
evening,
Swanto, sir, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, sir. Dr. Sukumaran.
Yeah.
Sugandha sir, I guess after a long time.
Dr. Jessica, good evening.
Very good evening, sir.
और तो
Nice to see you all, sir.
Sharma. Yes, sir. Somashekhar. Good evening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
I
Yes,
think
sir.
light you have to adjust, Kishore, sir. Light. It is becoming
Light,
very bright.
Kishore, sir, sari de. Perfect.
ಈಗ unmute ಮಾಡಿ, sir. Unmute.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
It's okay,
Your
sir.
name, sir. Your
Good evening,
name,
sir.
you change it, sir. Name.
A name, I will put it. Wait. Just a minute. A name Kashiragal Changa.
Sir, go to the left corner. Up there is a rename. 3 dots are there. On
Yes.
that, you click it. There rename. I think put your name, sir.
Yeah. No. Yes.
कैंसिल सर का क्या हुआ RG सर?
He is joining, sir. I called him. Within short time, he will be joining.
He is coordinator of today's program.
Yeah.
Kishore, sir, you are going to share the slides, or I have.
Yes. I will do it. I will do it.
That with the logos are there, no? Those slides, sir.
Yes.
Yes, Senthil has joined.
Very good evening,
Sir.
Dr. Chantil. Welcome.
Welcome, sir. Sandeep, sir.
Good evening, sir. Sorry for the delay. I just
No
had
problem.
some problems.
No, you are not delayed. Still 1 minute left.
1 minute is there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Welcome to all.
Yeah. Chandil, how are you?
Fine, sir. How are you, sir?
Fine, fine, fine.
Senthil sir, good evening.
Sir, good evening, sir. Nice to meet you, sir.
Yeah.
Anand sir, good. Looking smart.
He is ever smart.
Of course, yes, sir.
But you are looking young, Somesh Shankar. You are the
Thank
youngest
you, sir.
person in
Hello.
this
Thank you,
panel.
sir.
We wait 1 more minute, then we start.
Many of our review members have not joined yet.
Yes.
Prashant
informed
has
all.
not joined.
Yes.
Samik has not joined.
Yes.
Piali madam has not joined. And Harish Pemde.
Maybe joining.
Maybe.
Gautam.
Sir is taking our presentee, sir.
Yes, sir. Can we start, sir?
Yes, please. Because it's a long way to go. Lot of presentations. We want to
Very
listen.
good evening to all, and I welcome you all for the 7th monthly webinar of Adolescent Health Academy. As you all know, we come with a new topic every month. So this month, we come with the new topic, that is conditions emerging very fast in adolescent and human beings. That is atmosphere and adolescent health. Pollution and adolescent health, sorry. And I welcome for this session Dr. T.U. Sukumaran sir, and moderator of today's session, Dr. Kishore Bendur sir, Dr. Panelist, Dr. Anand Keswan sir, Dr. Geeta Patil, Chairperson-elect, Adolescent Health Academy, Dr. Chanthil sir, our own Executive Board Member of AHA and Central IAP, Dr. Somsekhar, and Dr. Sukanta sir, our Chairperson, Dr. R.G. Patil, and all Executive Board Member, they are not present and joining shortly, and Dr. J.C. Garg sir, and Dr. our advisor, Dr. Kotwal sir, and Dr. Satish Agrawal sir, and all the dignitaries on the virtual dais and off the dais, and all viewers, and Dr. R.G. Patil, our own Joint Secretary, and all viewers for this very informative and interesting talk. And for this, for further proceeding, I humbly request to our coordinator of this program, Dr. A. Chanthil, EV member of Central AHA, and hand over to Dr. Chanthil sir. Please proceeding. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Dr. Sharma, sir. Today is a DAAP, the program of our AHA, and this is going to be on environmental health and pertaining to adolescents. So this is a unique platform and a unique topic. So let us hear from our chairperson, Dr. Sukanta sir, for his opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Senthil. Good evening to all the dignitaries. As Dr. R.N. Sharma has already named, so I am not repeating it just to save time. But I must say good evening, and I must express my gratitude that you are present here to give the deliberations so that these members, HA members, and the viewers and others will be benefited. So for the opening remark, I must say that this is a new topic, and we have selected very sound speakers also. Environment is gradually changing. It's becoming a headline of newspaper at times. and we are all aware that it is affecting our health, not only increasing the temperature, but also increasing our health. We also get reports that maybe some of the cities in near future may be under the sea and many things, whatnot. But today the topic is more focused on what it can have on adolescent health. When you talk about environment, it's mostly the physical environment or climatic we are talking. Environment, of course, also means the human environment that adolescent is facing. That's a big topic, and that's a different topic also that is in daily discussion. But the focus will be on the environment that is beyond human environment. That is the today's topic of discussion. I believe we'll listen very elaborate, at the same time informative speech from the learned speakers, and we are waiting for that. And with these opening remarks, I hand over to Dr. Senthil to carry forward the proceedings of today's scientific session.
Thank you, sir, for those kind words. And today's first topic on this evening will be say we have been having the G20 summit, and which was discussing with the climate change and all those things. So let us have our own perspective for adolescent health. Today we'll be asking Professor T.U. Sukumaran, the first speaker of today, to talk on adolescent and environmental health, the global and Indian scenario. And he needs no introduction to this august audience. And we know he was a past president of Central IAP in 2011. And of course, he was the national president of the respiratory chapter in 2000 and allergy immunology chapter in 2019. I had the best doctor award of Government Kerala in 2001. He was a professor of pediatrics in so many government medical colleges in Kerala. He has written 3 books and edited 10 books. And he's a renowned personality known to all of us. Over to you, sir, for this unique topic.
Okay. Thank you, Shandal. Can I share my slides now?
Yes, sir. Have you seen the slides? Can you see the slides?
Yes, sir. Proper,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Correct,
Okay.
correct, sir.
Okay. Beloved friends, the chairperson of the respiratory chapter of the adolescent chapter, my beloved friend, Dr. Sugandha Chatterjee from Bengal, secretary, then other executive board members, Dr. Suhas, Dr. Geeta Patel, my close friend, Dr. Somashekhar, Dr. Anand, the chairperson of this talk, my beloved friend Dr. Kishore Baindu, and other dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, and beloved friends. It gives me great pleasure and privilege to be here with you to present this talk on adolescent and environmental health, global and Indian scenario. I, first of all, thank the executive board members for giving me this opportunity. And next 20 minutes, I will be elaborating on adolescent and environmental health, global and Indian scenario. I think there is no problem in changing the slides. Okay. According to the WHO says that in more than 40% of all childhood illness, including adolescents from 10 to 18 years, some form of environmental insult is there in all medical problems. So it is very important that one should take a detailed environmental history in all medical problems, including children and adolescents. What is environmental health? Environmental health is defined as the human health determined by interaction with physical, chemical, biological, and social factors in the environment that may adversely affect the health of the present and future generation. Now, considering the environmental health of adolescents, My question is that is adolescent different from adults in the way they are exposed to environmental contamination? If you take the problem of children, children are definitely different from adults because children most of the times they stay outside and the surface area is more, so they are more prone for air pollution. But what about adolescents? In adolescents, the behavioral difference between adult and adolescents lead too many opportunities for exposure to environmental toxicants. The risk-taking behavior of the adolescents may lead to exposure to toxins. So they are exposed to toxicants and they often ignore the risk. So adolescents are at high risk when compared to adults. And also, the target tissues also differ in adolescents. During puberty, rapid accretionary and hypertrophic growth occurs in various viscera, skeletal muscle system, bone, and muscles. And during this period, the development and differentiation of the reproductive system also take place. As growing, dividing, and differentiating tissues are more sensitive to environmental intrusion, so are the adolescents. So adolescents are predisposed to more environmental pollution and environmental health problems. And what are the environmental factors that affect health? If you take the environmental health, the common environmental factors are air, water, climate, soil, natural vegetations, and landforms. Environmental factors affect everyday living and play a key role in the health difference across the globe. Now, coming to the environmental factors which affect health and well-being of human life are, one is air pollution, soil pollution, noise pollution, water pollution, radioactive pollution. And deforestation can also produce a lot of problems in the climate. Deforestation can produce climate change, and it can also lead to global warming. And also, soil waste pollution can also lead to health problems in adolescents. Global warming, now all discussions are going on global warming because the temperature of the globe is increasing. And this is a phenomenon of global increase in temperature of the atmosphere, leading to increased volume of greenhouse gases like carbon monoxide, methane, and ozone. They are released by burning fossil fuels, emissions from vehicles, industries, other human activity. This can lead to increase in the temperature of the Earth. Earth's surface temperature is increased, and it can lead to a lot of problems like decreased rainfall, increased rainfall, earthquakes, and a lot of problems can be occur due to global warming. And change in climatic conditions due to typhoons, rising temperature, average to more rainfall, and melting of the global ocean current can also lead to climate change. Coming to the common adolescent health problems, according to the National Family Health Survey 3 data in the age group of 15 to 19 years, they found that in 47% of girls and 58% of the boys are thin, 56% of girls and 30% of the boys are anemic, 2.4% of the girls and 31.7% of the boys are overweight. And it is seen that in more than 2 per thousand adolescent girls and 1 per thousand boys, they suffer from non-communicable disease like diabetes mellitus. Coming to the mortality and morbidity in adolescents, when you compare the mortality rate in adolescents and adults, the mortality rate in adolescents is low when compared to other periods of life. This is the data in 1996. They have shown that the major cause of adolescent mortality in US were injuries, including accidents, homicide, suicide, cancer, heart disease, and acute immune deficiency. And same is seen in developing countries also. The main causes of morbidity are infectious disease, especially sexually transmitted diseases, substance abuse, and the same pattern is seen in developing countries also. Some of the diseases show a peak incidence in adolescents. For example, incidence of hepatitis A and infections of the GI tract have higher rates in adolescents. And also we see a lot of children with a fatal asthma in adolescents. This is because the adolescents, the complaints with inhaled corticosteroids are poor in adolescence, and they may not take the prescribed inhaled corticosteroid because they are seeing that it can produce habituation, it can produce addiction, it can produce obesity. So they refrain from taking inhalers, and so this adolescent can develop fatal asthma. During mid-adolescence, they can have eating problems like anorexia nervosa. They are more concerned with the body shape. They will not eat at all, leading to eating disorders. They can have sleep apnea syndrome. Adolescence is a time of symptomatic emergence of diseases that are dormant in childhood. For example, diabetes mellitus, thyroid disorders, coronary artery disease, schizophrenia, autoimmune disease, and they can have a lot of menstrual problems. Precocious puberty and delayed puberty due to exposure to endocrine disruptors is commonly seen in adolescents. And also, it is seen that adolescents, there is a high incidence of substance abuse, drug addiction, and teenage pregnancies is reported during adolescence, especially in the West. And it is seen that there is a regression of some of the clinical problems that occurs in children by adolescents. For example, hyperactivity, attention deficit hyperactivity, and minimal brain dysfunction can improve during adolescence. See, as clinician, we should have a clinical approach to suspect an environmental problem in adolescence. So history taking is very, very important. As I told earlier, in more than 40% of all childhood and adolescent problems, some degree of environmental involvement is commonly seen. And you also ask about daily environment of the adolescent, occupational exposure, lead exposure, and dietary exposure to toxicants should be asked for. With the daily environment, one must ask the home environment. You must find out where is the home situated. Is it near a factory area? If there is a more vehicular pollution there, there can be pollen grains there. And also you must ask for some of the environmental pollutants and also biohazards in the home. The school also you must ask for where is the school situated? Is it near the city or near the traffic area? And you must also ask about areas where the child engages their hobby. Ask about the playground and place of work of children is very important to find out a trigger factor for environmental problem. Now, what is the type of dwelling? Is it in an apartment, bungalow, yugi, or kacha homes? Children living in private homes or apartments may be exposed to friable asbestos, radon, and formaldehyde, which are more common air pollutants. Those living on roadside may be exposed to benzene, PAH, and near construction sites, people living near construction sites, they are exposed to silica and asbestos. Many school buildings are very old and poorly maintained, and indoor air quality is very poor in some of these schools. Now, coming to one of the common toxicants, friable asbestos. Children who live in basements or lower floors may be exposed to asbestos. Asbestos become a health hazard if it deteriorates and its fibers are released into the air. Asbestos does not have immediate health effect, but exposure increases the risk of lung cancer like mesothelioma in many years later. Another problem is radon. Radon is a particular concern in family who lives or spends considerable amount of time in the lower floors and basement, and is a colorless, odorless gas which tend to concentrate. Radon has also no immediate health effect, but is associated with increased risk of lung cancer after a latent period of many years. The exposed Indians who smoke may increase the risk of developing lung disease. Now, coming to formaldehyde, children inhabiting mobile homes or working at construction sites may be exposed to formaldehyde. Symptoms of formaldehyde poisoning include respiratory and skin irritation, headache, nausea, and vomiting. And it's very important to ask about age and condition of the building because dealing with leaded paint in poor condition are at a particular hazard which can flake or create dust, which is then ingested by young children, leading to lead poisoning. Lead paint is the major source of high-dose lead exposure, and products from the exterior paint can also cause problems. Then this is very, very important. Are there any smokers in the household? You must ask about a first-hand smoke, second-hand smoke, or a third-hand smoke. Children exposed to environmental smoke, tobacco smoke, are at increased risk of significant morbidity and mortality. There is increased incidence of asthma and other respiratory conditions and development of lung cancers as adults. Environmental tobacco smoke exposure exacerbates symptoms in children with recurrent respiratory infection, reactive airway disease, and middle ear disease. In addition, the parents who smoke are more likely to have young teenagers who smoke. Then what is the cooking source at home? It is also important in the rural setting where a large number of young girls do their household work and are employed in such jobs. And they are exposed to wood smoke and they can produce a lot of respiratory problems, including COPD. They can develop COPD later. Respiratory irritants, let us nitrogen dioxide, respirable particulate matter, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons may be emitted in high concentration on fireplaces and wood stoves that are not cleaned regularly or improperly vented. Carbon monoxide is also one of the problems by which adolescents are exposed to, and this can lead to fatigue and also headache, dizziness, weakness, confusion, nausea, and even death at higher concentration. You must ask the history of any exposure to pesticides in the home, yard, or farms. Most important things are you must ask the history of exposure to carbamate, organophosphorus, insecticides. The next point, the history is, does your child engage in any home hobbies that may expose him or her to toxic chemicals? And school audit is very, very important because the common source of environmental pollution may be school. Where is the school situated, as I said before? What is the structure of the building? And you must also ask about the air quality index of the school. Is there any mold growth in the school? Molds can trigger the allergic disorders like asthma and allergic rhinitis. Is there any exposure to volatile organic compounds? Are pesticides sprayed regularly indoors or outside? Is there paint peeling off leading to lead poisoning? And what is the source of water supply in the school? And you must also ask about the place where the adolescents are employed. Large number of adolescents are seeking employment these days, which also predisposes to them a number of toxic exposures and injuries. Working children and teenagers are at the risk of exposure to toxins and injury. Those illegally employed are at greater risk of injury. Then coming to pesticides and in the residues in the fruits and vegetables are a source of pollution for our adolescents. Then coming to some of the specific pollutants, then effects of smoke. You can see smoke is a very serious problem, especially those adolescents who are employed in the kitchen. They are exposed to house dust mite, irritants like ozone, and this can lead to altered airway growth, decreased breathing, thickening of the walls of the airways. It can lead to increased recurrent episodes of pneumonia, increased mortality from chronic cough, asthma, allergic rhinitis, sinusitis, and otitis media. And in small children, it can lead to SIDS. Then coming to the clinical effects of smoke, you can see smoke can produce respiratory tract illnesses. It can produce parental complications with low birth weight, middle effusion, asthma, fire-related injuries, and sudden infant death syndrome. Coming to second-hand tobacco smoke, I was talking about this before. Children whose mothers smoke, 70% more respiratory problems are there. Pneumonia and hospitalization in 1 year is 38% higher. The infant mortality is 80% higher, and 20% of all infants' deaths could be avoided if all pregnant smokers stopped smoking by 16th week of gestation. And it is saying that there is a 5 times higher risk of sudden infant death syndrome in passive smoking. And this is what is called a lifestyle changes of smoking. Smoking can affect all ages. If the pregnant mother is exposed in utero, it can lead to low birth weight. In babies, it can produce respiratory syncytial virus infection, bronchiolitis, and SIDS. And childhood high incidence of asthma, otitis media, and fire-related injuries. Adolescents is a nicotine addiction is there, and it may influence adolescents to start smoking. And also in adults, it can produce cancer, cardiovascular disease, and COPD. There is one interesting study from Dr. Paramesh, who has studied the prevalence of smoking among adolescents in urban and rural area. And he has found that in more than 40.4% of adolescents in the urban area and 21.8% of adolescents in a rural area, they start smoking between 10 to 14 years of age. Now, this is my interesting area, allergic environmental problems. I have studied the allergic environmental problems from this ISAC study group. The ISAC stands for International Study Group on Asthma and Other Allergic Disorders in Children. This is a multi-center cross-section studies of children in a randomized sampled schools. And we have studied 3,000 children in 13 to 14 years old and 6 to 7 years old from each school. And this is a questionnaire study, standardized, evaluated, some simple written questionnaires were given to the adolescents to find out the incidence of asthma in these children. And this graph shows the age symptom prevalence of 233 centers in 97 countries. You can see this in the red star shows a prevalence of more than 20%. And you can see there's a red star in Kerala, that is at Kottayam, where I have conducted this study. Isaac found that asthma occurred everywhere in the world, was more common than thought, and there were large variations in the prevalence of asthma. Asthma overall was increasing. Increases were more common in low middle income countries, and asthma was more commonly severe in low middle income countries, and association with atopy was very weak. And these are one of the positive factors and negative factors. Because of time constraint, I am not going into the details of that. This is ISAC study from Kottayam, which shows that ISAC phase 1 study, the adolescents, 12 to 13 years, the prevalence was 31%. And in 2002, ISAC phase 3, the prevalence was 33%. Another study done by me at Kochi in adolescents shows that the prevalence of 26.4% in children who are presented with recurrent episodes of this. These are some of my studies. And last study was done in 2014.
What happened?
There is some issues.
I think
this
power is off.
Yes, sir. Probably
Power is
had
off.
some issues.
Suddenly the light went off.
There is a power cut even in Kerala. Can I call him, sir?
Yes, please. If you can join over phone.
He has some issues, sir, and he said he'll join. He'll probably in a few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes, he'll join.
In the meantime, Dr. Shamik Ghosh has joined. Good evening, Shamik.
Good evening, sir.
Dr. Alok Gupta, Jaipur, has joined. Good evening, Dr. Gupta.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Dr. Preeti, very good evening, and good evening to all. Samik sir.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Yes,
sir and
Dr.
Preeti ma'am.
Preeti has joined. Preeti has joined. Good
Dr.
evening,
Soha.
Preeti.
Yes.
Good evening, sir.
And I think those who are the viewers and the attendees can give their queries in the chat box.
Dr. Samir Shah has joined. Welcome, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
Dr.
good evening.
Shah.
Akshita, can you have backup PPTs? Akshita from DIP. Akshita.
Senthil sir, did you call up? What did he tell?
Yeah, he said he'll join. I think his still issues have not been sorted, I think. I think then
He
we'll
can
have to
join
take
on
up.
his mobile. I think we'll ask Akshita. Akshita from DIP, are you there? Sir has sent you already his presentation.
Yes.
Sir has joined.
DIP can display and sir can speak on the mobile. Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, sir.
Sir.
Unmute, sir. Unmute, sir. Unmute. You're again muted, sir. Now it is okay.
Can you hear now?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
See, very sorry for this problem. We are having heavy rain here. Heavy rain and lightning. That is the main
Understandable.
problem.
Understandable, sir.
I will just conclude now.
Environmental problems.
This is real environmental problems now. Okay.
Nishikant sir.
Okay, okay, just one more.
Nishikant sir, mute.
Dr. Nishikant.
Okay, can you see the slide?
Nishikant. Dr. Nishikant.
Sir, mute, sir. Mute, sir.
Someone should call him.
Can the DIP person mute it? Mute him? Dr. Nishikant.
हाँ मैडम
Sir, you can proceed, sir. Sir? Again, he's having some problems. Sharma, sir, what can we do?
So I think we should start the next session. Then if the problem is coming repeatedly because of the thunderstorm and others, that might continue and it might have repeated problems. So it's already 9:35. So
we'll go to the next session, sir.
yes, I think that we should go.
Okay. Then we'll move on to the next session. It's a panel discussion on the effects of the environment on physical, sexual, social, and emotional growth. And for this, we have our esteemed Dr. Kishore Baindur as the moderator. Over to you, sir, for the panel discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Chandil. So both accidental and incidental that I have become the moderator. Look at the thing that Sukumaran sir had to, for reasons of the environment, curtail his talk. We're so sorry because it was going so smoothly. A lot of information was there, and I thought he would cover a lot of what we were to cover and making our job easy. But
Sir
fate
has
has
come
some
back.
other.
Sir has come back.
Huh? Is
Sir,
it?
unmute, sir. Sukumaran, sir.
Yes, sir.
Unmute.
Unmute yourself. Unmute, sir. Sukumaran, sir.
Yes.
Slide content.
Okay, I will conclude by saying 2 or 3 slides now. And now this is again the ISAC study on allergic rhinitis in adolescents. 13 to 14 years, we have seen there's a higher prevalence of allergic rhinitis. The incidence is 18.6%. But again, this ISAC study from Kottayam has showed an incidence of 40%. And what IAP has done for adolescents' environmental health. You can see the photograph. This is an IPA WHO workshop was conducted in Delhi in 2007 when I was the chairperson of the environmental chapter.
I was there, sir.
Lot of legends are there. Even our Somu was also there. You can see Dr.
Yes, sir.
Paramesh.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Our past president, Dr. Satyananda Kamath, Anupam Sachdev, R.K. Argawal, Harish Pamde, myself, and the International Pediatric Association, Environmental Child, and Child Health Group, Ruth Etzel is also seen. And also, one more thing I want to highlight. This was the work done by Indian Academy of Pediatrics. We have formed an IAP task force on prevention of tobacco in children and adolescents. And this task force was for 3 years, from 2011 to 2014. And I was the chairperson of this program. The international coordinator was Dr. Sadi Bave, and we have prepared a CD. And this CD was circulated to all district branches of Indian Academy of Pediatrics. It is very, very important that we look at this problem of environmental tobacco smoke in children because it's a common trigger factor for asthma and or allergic disorders. And you must have seen the life cycle changes due to this passive smoking. And it is very important that you must avoid passive smoking in all places. And I think we should get some orders from the court to prevent tobacco smoke at public places. And with these words, let me conclude by thanking all of you for giving this opportunity. And thank you very much for your patient listening. And I am very, very sorry for the inconvenience produced by the lack of electricity. Heavy raining is going on at Kottayam now. In my place also, it is heavy raining. It is again an environmental problem. Thank you once again for your patient listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It was an extensive and elaborate presentation from the allergy and asthma specialist. Thank you, sir.
Each time new things will be there with sir. Each time new things will be.
Yes.
Excellent, sir. It was too good.
Thank you, sir, for that very elucidative thing.
So next we'll go to the panel discussion. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. So as I was talking about thing, so we continue where Professor Sukumaran left off, basically. So that is the issues of environment and adolescent health. How they interplay is what is the theme of our panel today. At the outset, let me thank the organizers, the chairpersons of both the IAP AHA and also the Environment and Child Health Group, which are there, Dr. Anand Kesavan and Dr. Sukhanto Chatterjee, the secretaries, the EB members, and my very, very dear panel members. On behalf of all of them, I thank you for this opportunity today. So we are continuing with the issue of environment and adolescent health, the interplay between these two factors, how environment is playing a role in adolescent health is what is the crux of the talk that we are going to have. Shall I start sharing my screen, please? Yeah, that will be.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Just a minute and I will.
Make it full screen, sir.
Yeah. Is it visible now?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. We start off with a very poignant picture of how pollution affects all of us and specifically the adolescents. You can see the picture in most of this is probably Delhi. And we see one adolescent here closing her nose, mouth, etc. To prevent this pollution from harming her. So unfortunately, as days progress in the present day situation, things are worsening probably. And no less a summit like G20 this time spent a lot of time in discussing climate change, how it has to be combated, including a talk by our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi. So this is the topic of our discussion today. And my panelists include very eminent personalities, Dr. Anand Keshavan from Thrissur, Kerala, Dr. Geeta Patil, Chairperson-elect of the AHA from Bangalore, Dr. Shemsekhar AR, the Secretary of the Environmental Group, and Dr. Chantil from Naivalli, Tamil Nadu. So all of these experts are going to give you their share of knowledge. And today, let's start off with myself. So-and-so, not a big thing there. So I welcome you all this panel that we are going to have in the next about 45 to 50 minutes. We are going to dive into a topic that affects all of us, and that is environmental issues, and particularly the impact on adolescent health today. As we explore this topic, we'll discuss the various environmental factors that can impact adolescent growth. As Sir put it earlier, it could be pollution, it could be climate change, it could be access to resources, it could be social, cultural milieu, psychosocial factors. All of these are environments for the adolescent today. And by definition, very, very simple definition of what an environment can be is a sum total of all the living and non-living elements. That is important. It's not only the living environment that is around us, but also the non-living elements and their effects that influence human life. So you can see that the whole of human life is affected by the environment that we live in, and it's classified variously as the macro environment, micro environment, internal environment, external. All of these classifications are done. What does environment do for us? It sustains life, it modifies the quality of life, and it provides life-giving resources. So without environment, we are nowhere. So there is a give and take between the environment and ourselves. So there are three main types of environment. One is the physical environment, as I told you, social culture milieu, and also the psychological issues that plague adolescents more often. Environment plays a crucial role in shaping the lives of children and adolescents. Why so? Because adolescents undergo significant sexual, emotional, cognitive, and psychosocial changes. And the environment they are exposed can have short-term and long-term effects. And these are the future citizens of our country. And if something affects them at this tender age, I am sure they are going to be not so useful citizens, and you can know the consequences of such a problem. Many people fail to realize profound effect these issues can have on the development of adolescents. So it is not an issue that we can turn our blind eye to. So from air pollution to climate change, these problems can cause serious health and emotional distress. So environmental issues have a significant impact on the social and emotional growth of the adolescent, not only the physical growth or disease causing. Sir, I already put it that more than 40% of medical problems have environmental factors as a co-element in the production of these diseases. So you can imagine almost 40% is a big chunk of adolescent health is due to environmental factor. So for some examples I can take is exposure to pollution leading to respiratory problems, which he has elucidated earlier. Climate change can cause natural disasters. It could be floods, it could be famine, it could be no rains, or the increasing levels of the sea, etc. And these can, produce changes or disrupt the adolescent's sense of stability and security, thereby leading to a lot of emotional disturbances. Now, it was a few questions my very eminent panelists today, and the first question would go to Dr. Chantil, who is a very eminent person and a member of the Adolescent Health Academy. These are his credentials. And to you, why are adolescents in particular affected by environment problems? Are they more affected than others, maybe a child or an adult? Or can you quote a few statistical data on why adolescents in particular are affected by environmental problems, more so pollution, etc., etc.? Over to you,
thanks
sir.
for the opportunity. Thanks for the opportunity, sir. Please go to the next slide, sir. We all know that the environment that surrounds the adolescents contribute to their health and well-being directly and indirectly. So a clear way to look at all these influences is through the social ecological model developed by the next slide, sir.
Yeah. 1 minute. Yeah.
Or the previous one. Is it not moving? Next one, sir. Next one. This is okay, sir. So the clear way to look at all these influences is through the social ecological model developed by Yuri Bronfenbrenner. So we all know these environmental factors: air, water, climate, soil, natural vegetation, and landforms. And we can see the interplay between from the individual to the macro system. Next slide, sir. So we know the adolescents are more exposed to the external environment than the children. So previous slide, sir. So because they have got enough time to spend at the school with the friends, and they are trying to explore the outer world. And of course, they are ill-equipped to handle the situations because of the developing brain. And of course, they don't know what to do and what not to do, and when to say no and when to accept. So this is the vulnerability of these adolescents because of their brain development still continuing in adolescence. And we know that once there is a family connectedness, the environment doesn't affect them, and there is a protective factor. And definitely, but the social media influence is always there, and they tend to follow it in all Facebook, Instagram, and all those things. And they get carried away with those influences because they are vulnerable. And we know that it can lead to so many substance abuse, pornography, and all those things. And peer pressure definitely influences them. It can be in the positive side or in the negative side. We know that the parental expectations are high nowadays, and so it can be realistic or unrealistic also. So the school connectedness definitely plays a role in the adolescent, and so when it is lacking, definitely they will have problems in their local environment and in the society. So we know that these adolescents have been experimenting, trying to explore, and want to experience everything firsthand. So they have definitely, in spite of all these things, so certain adolescents definitely have high levels of social anxiety. They don't know how to move with the elders or the peers, and they definitely have low levels of self-esteem. So these are all the factors which influence them. And of course, they have their own constraints in the economic level and the emotional resources. Next slide. Next slide, please. So now we have seen the WHO incidents among the deaths. Almost 1/4 of the deaths are due to the environment, attributed to the environment. And of course, the disability associated life years is also that has been lost is also almost 1/4. So the environment affects so much in a day-to-day basis. Next slide, sir. So we can see that India ranks below 4 South Asian nations such as Bhutan, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Sri Lanka in the health goals, sustained developmental goals of 62 out of 100. And from a twin meta-analysis, the environment affects contribute to a 50 to 65% risk for major depression, 32% for bipolar disorders, and 23% risk for schizophrenia. So an enriching and a stimulating home environment fosters the healthy growth and brain development of the adolescents. You must have a nurturing care and love and affection. So because they have been developing emotionally even during adolescence. Thank you, sir. Next slide, sir.
This is one that, that was a comprehensive picture of what you gave, Dr. Chentil. Thank you for that. And as you can see that, environment as to why adolescents are more prone for problems which are due to environmental causes, and they form a large chunk of adolescent health problems, which include physical, socio-cultural, psychological, and all these issues which play a role. And I'm sure we should find good ways to tackle, to produce good future citizens of this nation. So next we go to a very important topic. And for this, we have Dr. Ananda Keshavan, who's the chairperson of the Environmental and Child Health Group of the IAP subchapter. And sir, to you, what are the types of environmental pollution? And could you elaborate a little on these factors that can bring about pollution and some of their effects on adolescents? The stage is yours, Dr. Eki.
Thank you, Kishore sir. At the outset, I would like to thank the Adolescent Academy of Pediatrics for selecting an important topic related to environmental health. So I think it is the first chapter coming in association with the environment chapter for a combined discussion. Thank you all the office bearers of Adolescent chapter. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the problem of pollution, all types of pollution starts from the intrauterine. So it will go up to adolescent and also older age. But children are, of course, children and adolescents are more affected. Next one, sir. So all types of pollution, especially in developing countries, air pollution, already mentioned by sir, water pollution, noise pollution, radioactive pollution, light pollution, and also nowadays plastic pollution and pollution due to food wastage. Just many of them are not recognized by our adolescents. They are not giving much importance to this type of pollution. Next one, sir. So noise pollution is one of the important because our students or adolescent people are very much keen about televisions, radios, loudspeakers, crackers, and also surrounding phones of buses and also appliances, like a mixer, grinder, and heavy industries. So there are so many sources of noise pollution around us. Next one, sir. So it will lead to so many problems. It will lead to anxiety. When our children are studying in 10 plus or in plus 1, plus 2, you have to see that many of them are suffering from almost the disease, too much annoyance, mood shift, and also hypertension, young hypertension, and also lead to myocardial infarction, and also elevated adrenaline levels, so psychological aspects, and a lower threshold for noise resulting in sleep distress. That is another important problem. Changes in immune system also. Next one, sir. So one thing I want to say, earphone. I think we can see that many of our students are using the earphone because they are using it because they don't want to disturb others. But certainly are harming oneself, even though they are not disturbing others. So there are two aspects there. One is volume exposure, how much volume, because they will keep it in high volume and very close to ear. So it will damage the ear very quickly. And also duration, because they'll hear it during travel and other things, 2 hours, 3 hours continuously. So all this will lead to early deafness. And the earphone also exposed germs are there. So they're sharing the earphones, they may lead to transfer of the germs also. So there are so many problems with all this earphone, which is commonly used by our children. Next one, sir. So only mention about it lead to tinnitus, hyperacusis, hearing loss, dizziness, ear infection, pain in the ear, and the effect on the brain. So many multivariable problems is there. So when it is there, they are using for long time, from 10, 11 years to 20 years, a long duration, high volume, definitely it will affect. Next one, sir. Next one is water pollution. So as per Nidhi Aayog, overall 70% of the freshwater source in India is contaminated water. Contaminated water we are getting. India ranks 120 out of 122 countries in terms of water quality. So you can just imagine how much, So water is polluted by landfill, septic tank, leaky underground gas tank from overuse of fertilizers and pesticides. And also, unlikely, a large volume of untreated domestic sewage is coming in contact with the local water resources. So all this lead to water contamination and urbanization, deforestation, industrial effluent, social and related practice, use of detergents, fertilizer, insecticide. All this lead to aggravate the problem of water pollution. Next one, sir. So just like water pollution, it will not only affect the human being only, it will affect the marine and land ecosystem. It will lead to human health and diseases, affecting groundwater system. And finally, it will lead to shortage of water supply. So in Kerala also, we are also facing a big shortage of water supply nowadays. Next one. Just like, so you can see that food poisoning and water poisoning, water, because of the lack of water, you are getting very frequent food poisoning also. More than 100 million people live in areas of poor water supply, and they lead to many types of foodborne, waterborne infection. So food poisoning is incidence in children's hostels are very, very increasing. You can see so many newspaper report, college students, hostel students, young adults, and they got infected with food poisoning and water pollution. Next one, sir. And another important, so it is time we have to advise our students to take a typhoid vaccine, hepatitis A vaccine, cholera vaccine if it is needed, and even polio. So all this water foodborne infection we can prevent to an extent with the vaccine. Another important, light pollution. You can see that too much light system, so it will affect your problem. Next one. So many species, including humans, need darkness to survive and thrive. To normal sectors of melatonin, normal cycle rhythm, everything, sleep and night is very important. So too much exposure, sleep, it will lead to sleep disorder, depression, obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. So too much light, artificial light also very a big problem, especially in the night. Yes, sir. And food waste, I think this is one thing we have, even though it is directly, food waste is not recognized by our students. Students means adolescent, because they are in an era of lavishness. Unlike our golden period, we are very much, we won't waste our food. We'll take very cautious about it. According to FAO, 1/3 of all food is wasted. So the problem is that the food waste leads to so many problems, leads to loss of natural resources like fuel, water, energy. Food waste burdens waste management system, increased food insecurity, major contributor to global problems of climate change. Somebody mentioned about the green gas affecting, ozone depletion. So next one, sir. So all these gases, major greenhouses, so all these gases, carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, water vapor, ozone, all these are released from our food waste. So it will lead to climatic changes and so many adverse effects. Yes, sir. So our generation, because they are going to a restaurant, they are too much they are ordering, but they won't take it. So it will lead to lots of food wastage. When so many people are suffering from lack of food, these people are wasting our food. So we have to address that issue also. One is plastic pollution, because plastic is the most destructive weapon than a nuclear bomb or atom bomb. Its impact shall remain for centuries on the future generation. So it is so many generations will affect it. So plastic products have become an integral part of our life. So it will lead to convert to plastic waste in a short. So 70% of plastic packaging products are converted to plastic waste. It's a big impact because we cannot destroy them. Next one, sir. So it will lead to groundwater, soil pollution, pollution of oil, oceans and dangers for human life in all. So all the even marine life and also all other living animals is affected with the plastic. So we should have a sufficient, efficient plastic wastage management, and it is very happy to say that there are government in India plastic waste management is rules of carry bags of thickness of this one, and recycle, reuse, everything is. I think everybody knows it. Yes, right, sir. So we have to reduce the use of plastic. We have to reuse it. We have to recycle it, and recovering energy from the waste and the landfill. All these are very important. Then only we can escape from this very, very danger of plastic pollution. Yes, and also another important aspect nowadays, because we are all now succumbed to electronic waste. We cannot live now without any electronic equipments. So it will harm the environment. It will produce pollution to water, acidification soil, air pollution. E-waste account for 40% of the lead and 70% of the heavy metal. So Subhanan is also mentioning the effect of heavy metals. So it will lead to so many DNA damage, lung cancer, damage to heart, chronic damage to brain, asthmatic bronchitis. So all this pollution poisoning around us. And our younger generation also very much aware about this program, and also it will lead to so much damage in future. Yes, sir.
I think this is where we end your talk here. And Anand Keshwan, you brought out very nicely on the different aspects of pollutants that can cause harm to adolescent health. Very rightly, you brought about the noise pollution, the water pollution, and it is alarming that 70% of the water that we take in India is polluted, and it is a very, very alarming situation, and I think we need to think very seriously about it. You have brought in newer things like light, which we never thought could be a pollutant for a lot of us. And you brought out nicely that, well, melatonin, growth hormone, our circadian rhythm, etc., is being disturbed by light. In children, particularly adolescents who go for competitive exams and all, they sit through the night, and deleterious effects on their health because of sleep deprivation, etc., is noted. Brought out very nicely by you. Food waste was something new to me also, as to how it can cause environmental pollution. A very nice point that you brought out about the climatic change that the gases can bring about. Plastic, e-waste is something which is accumulating in a big way, and God save us from all of these waste unless we put our foot down and do something very serious about it. Next, we go ahead and ask Geeta Patil, do you name a few environmental pollutants and their effects on health, that is chemicals, etc., which Dr. Anand Keshwan has not covered, so that you could cover the other pollutants that you could think will have a effect on the adolescent health. This is her credentials, which runs into pages. So welcome, Dr. Geeta, on board, and the stage is yours.
Next slide, sir. So thanks very much, Dr. Kishore Bindur, sir. I am very lucky that I am a part of this very unique panel discussion combining two chapters, which is really very important. As Sukumaran sir has already highlighted, the 40% problems are because of the environmental problem. But I can say environmental problems cause infectious as well as non-infectious diseases, and more so for the underprivileged. Now we are facing infectious, but environment is causing both. And as already sir has mentioned about air pollution, a little bit discussion about climate change, global warming, UV radiation is already done. That has got a direct and indirect effect on the adolescent health and well-being. I will try to see that I don't do repetition, but next slide, sir. So the toxic substances, it is a toxin plus toxicant. What is a toxin? Because it is very important for us to know about that, because toxin is a poisonous substance which is produced naturally by a living organism. We call mycotoxin. See, you have seen this corn, you can see there is a fungus grown that produces a toxin. We see many times, and these adolescents are very much used to eating outside, maybe overabundance and whatever it is, and they like to experiment and they get infected. And this growth is more with the climatic condition changing as the temperature, humidity, and rainfall is increasing. And we are not aware of that. We have to be very careful. And toxicant is a poisonous substance made by humans or introduced into the environment by the human industrial waste, dioxin, synthetic chemicals. And the effect of these toxic substances depend on the dose and time in the lifespan when it is introduced. See, these toxic substances also reduce the immune functions. So they become prone for infectious diseases also. Next slide, sir. So dioxin, I just mentioned, that is you see factories leaving the smoke. It stays in the environment for a very long time and causes a problem of reproductive, developmental problem, damage the immune system, interfere with the hormones. Phthalates, all of us talk about the phthalates are present in the plastic to make it more flexible or put in the household things to smell better. So they are present in the packaging thing. We can call them as indirect additives. So additives problem we know. And then cosmetics, we have to be very careful. Household items, many items are there, detergent. So many things are there, shower curtains, medical tubings, catheters. So these phthalates leach through that plastic and can affect us and causes a cognitive behavioral problem, hepatic, nephrotoxicity, diabetes, allergy, asthma, cancer. I'm not going to detail up pathophysiology. I think BPAs, these bisphenols, commonly seen. Everybody we carry. So many times we say environment friendly conference, but always we see the disposable water bottles there. We don't use that other water, flowing water. So there are many things which we see in any malls. We see full of these BPAs. Nowadays, there are strict rules, regulation that plastic should be BPA free, but still we are seeing it because in our country, these rules are not that stringent. May lead to obesity in adults and children, may be a risk factor for breast cancer in women, prostate cancer in men, then infertility in men and women, increased risk of cardiovascular diseases, allergies, inflammation, and asthma. Next, sir. So we have seen these. Next slide, sir. So PFCs, I think always we read about this. These PFCs are present in the fast food containers. This non-stick cookware, it is a very important thing to remember. Microwave, that popcorn, that all containers are there, or electronic goods. Then stain-resistant carpet. We do so many things, no, for our carpet not to get spoiled, but that contains PFCs. And we have to remember that causes a lipid disruption of the lipid metabolism and disturbance of the immune system. If the pregnant ladies are exposed, effect on the fetal development, birth weight, then thyroid hormone, estrogen receptors, affects the childhood, obesity, metabolic syndrome, results 50 phenotypes. This is an epidemiological relation between the less nutrition in the womb and developing a metabolic syndrome later. That will not go into that. Ionizing radiations, already we talked. Natural are there because of the depletion of the ozone layer. But please remember, we indiscriminately advise X-ray and CT scan. That causes a lot of exposure. It is in our hand. Already sir has elaborated about the e-waste. What we are all using electronic gadgets. They have got a very less lifespan. Repair facility is not there. So next version comes that e-waste contains a lot of gold, silver, and recycling gives a lot of money. So we have to remember, if it is not done properly, leads to many problems sir has mentioned, and behavioral problem, neurodevelopment, immune system, DNA damage, cancer, CVS problem. So I have given an overview about that. And sir mentioned about the heavy metal poisoning. Sir, next, heavy metal poisoning. I am not going to go into that, but important ones we have to remember is arsenic, mercury, lead, and asbestos. Asbestos is not commonly seen, but still the things are going on in the developing countries. Then arsenic is present in pesticide, herbicide, dyes. See, remember, there is one abnormal cardiac rhythm is there. Sir has already elaborated how proactively we have to take history. Let us include this in our heads also. So how much they are exposed and all this. When you take a home or that heads is there, in that all these things we can include. Mercury, though there are so many things that mercury containing things should not be there, but the waste disposal in the water itself, seafood tainted, fish is there, dental fillings, industrial processing, thermometer, blood pressure apparatus is not much seen and has got many problems which has shown muscle weakness, tremors, skin rashes, anxiety, memory. I just want to sensitize. When you take a history, we should know that what we have to see. Lead, we talk a lot, but lead free, petrol is there, lead free, so many things are there, but still lead is going on. They are present in the pipe, they are rusted. Very important thing to remember is intellectual disability, behavioral disorder, antisocial behavior, which is very important to remember. We don't take a history of lead exposure. Anemia, hypertension, renal impairment, immunotoxicity to the reproductive organs. The anemia we see in the adolescent age group. Do we do lead screening that more than 5 microgram per deciliter? No. So we have to be ourselves prime that when we are seeing the patient, ask proactively, know what investigations to do and how to manage. Thank you very much. I have given an overview. Maybe there are many pollutants are there. They say
Thank you, Geeta. And yeah, that was nicely brought out about the important, pollutants per se, and each toxic element that you brought out, and the nice differentiation between what is a toxin and a toxicant, etc., and its effects on adolescent health. Nicely brought out the heavy metal poisoning, particularly lead and asbestos. No doubt is less and less being used, but still in the old ramshackle juggies of our cities, slums, where quite a few of our adolescents make a living, they are exposed to such things and lung disorders. So we go next to Dr. Somsekhar, who is now the professor, head of the department of pediatrics at Ramaya Medical College, secretary of the All India Secretary of the Environment Child Health Group. So Somsekhar, the next question is addressed to you. Would climate change affect adolescent health? Climate change and effect. We talk so much about climate these days, and as we told in the initial phases, and Dr. Chandil also brought out in the opening remarks, that a substantial part of the G20 summit this time, there was talk on climate change and how to bring about changes for the better. So could you tell us something about the effect on adolescent health?
Yes, sir. So far we understood about types of pollution and pollutants. Let us see the effects, overall effects. I'm not going to the deeper aspect of critical aspect of earth hazards. Let us do overall what's happening to the climatic change and the effects on the health. First is extreme weather changes. Right now we have past 3 months, extreme flood was there, hurricanes we see in other countries, floods and heat waves, and adolescents are the vulnerable. They are outside always, and they get into the problems and they result in injuries, trauma, even loss of life. Like in this context, I want to say something. At least in Karnataka, 15 to 20 deaths were there during the floods. Just they go to the trip and they do all the adventurous activity or the selfie, they die. So adolescents, not only because of the risk-taking behavior, because they are in the field all the times, they are prone for extreme weather events and they get into the problem. Next slide, please. Coming to the air quality, sir has told already, the recurrent respiratory infection, upper airway infection, our airway obstructions, everything addressed, and with the data, sir has told effect studies, potassium studies, and our Dr. Sir, my mentor, Dr. Parmesh has already mentioned about prevalence is going towards 40%. So poor air quality definitely also causes the chronic lung disease and also exacerbates with the asthma, allergies, as well as it affects the overall well-being, scholastic absenteeism, and their quality of life. That's we understood. Now, vector-borne diseases, we are all in the era now. We are seeing all the bunch of disease. Our hospital is filled with dengue diseases, and we are seeing especially adolescent. When an adolescent gets admitted, I'm really worried. I'm really worried because they are the one where they go into volume depletion, leak, and other things, and they are prone for a lot of issues with the hormones because they are there. They are in the outside, in the school or the colleges. They are moving around. And the bikes or whatever it is, they go to the place where it is breeding places, they get into this problem, and even Lyme disease should not be forget. And after I just mentioned about some physical illness, let us understand that mental illness also, that a lot of, like if we take the rates of suicidal rates, if we take, last time it was mentioned around 22,000 adolescents have died because of the suicide. either because of the anxiety, depression is going on, we should address. Maybe that is the environment has taken a direct or indirect influence on the same, which should be addressed. Definitely, it has got a role, and that leads to mental healthiness and leads to other calamities. Next slide, please. So after understood about the physical and mental health, let us understand its insecurity. Inadequate nutrition leads to definitely physical and cognitive development. Under Dr. Shaila Awasthi Madam, Lucknow, we had done a lot of studies on the micronutrient studies, lead, anemia, magnesium, everything, and significant papers are coming out, especially the micronutrient deficiency or macronutrient deficiency associated with cognitive disability. And water quality, we see a lot of waterborne diseases still going on, especially the hepatitis and the gastroenteritis. All the things are going on because they lack of access to clean and safe water. Still, it is there. Even though said it is the semi-urban area, but rural area is still there because of good quality of water. And all these things, environmental factors, the infectious diseases are going. We have seen that COVID has given all the things. COVID, post-COVID, long COVID, all the things are going on. Infectious diseases are rising now. Viral flu is going on. So they are all. The environment has given a lot of access to how to grow harbor the infections. So these are all just I just told about the overall view of the infection, inflammation, waterborne diseases, air quality, and the respiratory problem and associated mental issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonshekar, for bringing out in brief about the effects of climate on so many of the aspects which concern adolescent health. And definitely it has a very strong impact on adolescent health and behavior. We move on now next to what are the role of the environmental factors in social and emotional growth. We talked about physical illnesses, we talked about anemia, so many other physical conditions secondary to environmental issues. This is addressed to Dr. Chental, the role of environmental factors in social and emotional growth of adolescent, because this is a very important aspect of adolescent growth. And a lot of changes do take place during this very, very important phase of somebody's life. And sir, could you go ahead and tell us about what this is?
So, thank you. Please go to the next slide, sir. We know that these 4 areas are there. We have the gender in the biological environment. There is a gender bias, which we have seen practically affecting the female kids. The nutrition aspect, we can see the malnutrition and the malnutrition, the overnutrition. And diseases like HIV and tuberculosis have been there definitely on the rise. And of course, the genotype depends on the phenotype, which is affected by the environment. So the physical environment it have been dealt detailed. We know that the climatic changes and the cleanliness is essential for the adolescents to have a safe environment. So psychosocial environment, we see that stimulation should be there for the adolescents adequately. If there is a lack of interaction with the parents or with the friends, there is definitely it's going to affect them. So in learning motivation, if it is lacking because of the teaching methods, definitely it is going to affect the adolescents. So we know the peer influence, and of course the adolescents have problems in facing the stress nowadays. They must be dealt with the coping mechanisms for them to build the resilience in this aspect. So we know that the familial environment, we know the parents, sometimes they go for some parents have the negative type of parenting, and that affects them. And of course, siblings are usually supportive, relatives usually compare. And of course, we have this important digital environment where adolescents don't know the etiquette of how to use it. There is definitely a lack of awareness about the impact it has on their lives. So all these major factors are definitely going to affect their social and emotional growth. Next slide, sir. Next slide, please. So here we see how it affects the diet, nutrition, and disease, how it affects the individual, and there is the interplay and interaction between this. And we must know that Definitely, these factors affecting the adolescent growth vary in importance according to the circumstance, according to the age, and according to their stages in late, middle, or early adolescence. Next slide, sir. No. This will be for the next one, sir. You can go back, go to the next one, sir. Next slide.
Oh, I don't have that slide here.
Next
So
one, sir.
could you tell what it was? And yeah, because this is the one that comes up. You can tell your point, sir.
Yes, sir, I finished.
Yeah.
Can
yeah.
go to
Well, that was nicely explained on how environment and plays a role in all of the 4 spheres of problems in adolescence, and family and social environment, stress, psychosocial problems being elaborated by Dr. Chandil. Now to Dr. Geeta Patil, what is the role of environmental factors in sexual growth and maturation? Because this is a very important phase where the puberty sets in, the secondary sexual characters appear, a very, very important phase of anybody's growth, which affects very, very long-term this thing, particularly mothers who bring teenage pregnancies. We see in a large number of Indian adolescents, and how the environmental factors do play a role in sexual growth and maturation. Dr. Geeta, can you go ahead?
Thank you, Dr. Kishore sir. You have already elaborated that puberty and sexual maturity is a hallmark of adolescent stage, and sexual maturity, all of us, we know that it happens in the sequential way, like first thalarchy, puberty, menarche. All these things in males also it happens. I'm not going into details of that. See this, but the age of onset and rapidity of the sexual development varies. So everybody is having a puberty, maybe barring certain things, and this age of onset and rapidity of the sexual development, which is influenced by the genetics and environmental factors. Genetics, we don't have any control. Environmental factors, definitely. This nowadays sexual maturity is happening early because of the improvement in the nutrition, general health, living condition. We totally agree about that. But we have observed the average age of menarche has decreased by about 3 years. That has got a physical as well as social or emotional problems. Next slide, sir. So let us come. Now, what I told, the pollutants all act as endocrine disruptors. That is a topic of research all over the world now. These are the chemicals naturally happening, having a natural and or man-made, and that interferes with the body's hormones, which regulate the varieties of functions like metabolism, growth, development, and sleep. Why it is important? Because as I already told that it may cause delayed or it may cause advanced puberty. It has got a long-term reproductive consequences. Sir has already told today's adolescent is tomorrow's mother. Next slide, sir. So these endocrine disruptors have got many effects on all the organs. It is not one. And already I had talked about the endocrine disruptors, phthalates, BPAs, percolate, pesticides, certain metal, dioxin, plastics, all are these endocrine disruptor components, and they are present where? In the soap, shampoos, cosmetics, food, beverages, packing material, toys, carpet, pesticide, perfumes, plastic. So it is definitely frightening. And already we know these endocrine disruptors are increasing. We know that there are so many chemicals added, flavoring agent, coloring agent. Next slide, sir. So it has got an effect on many organs. It is not only reproductive, but autoimmune, cardiopulmonary, brain. But let us elaborate because we are confining to the reproductive system and sexual maturity. So girls, premature thalarchy, menarche, adenocarcinoma of vagina, all research is done. And in the adolescent or young adult mother, nutritional deficiency may cause a birth defect, preterm, low birth weight babies. And if she is exposed to endocrine disruptors, if the child is male, may cause cryptorchidism or hypospadias. That has to be remembered. And in the males, there is a maybe early puberty is not still proved with the research, but it leads to altered development and neoplasia of the male reproductive organs, diminished sperm count, testicular cancers. Endocrine disruptors are known to cause tumors, birth defect, developmental disorders. So let us see, we understood what are endocrine disruptors, where are they present, how they act, what simple measures adolescent can do. Next slide, sir. Wash the fruits and vegetable properly, limit the use of pesticides, don't use a plastic use, reusable bags can be used, switch to the non-toxic skincare because they're very fond of cosmetics, and drink a filtered water. And we can try to limit the use of endocrine disruptors in many things by finding out the alternative choices. So these are the role of the endocrine disruptors on the sexual maturity of the adolescent. Thank you. Unmute, sir. Unmute. Unmute, sir.
So you brought out nicely about what factors cause the very, very important changes, particularly the disruptors, as we call, and this amount of research that is going on in this particular field. And you also brought out issues of how we can probably reduce the exposure, that everyday use that we do of soap, shampoos, disinfectants, etc. The reduced use or use of organic products in all of these situations could definitely bring about less and less harmful effects of the chemicals that we are seeing. And adolescents particularly are more prone to use perfumes, powders, shampoos, etc., because the feel good, look good factors come into picture. They have seen their celebrities and they want to ape them. Advertisements are coming in to become more fairer or better looking, etc. So the use of all of these chemicals are increasing, and I think there's a lot of deleterious effects on the sexual growth of our adolescents. So next we go to the role of environmental factors in physical growth during adolescence, and to address this issue, call upon Dr. Somsekhar to take up this question about environmental factors in physical growth during adolescence. A little light on this particular aspect, Dr. Somsekhar.
It's a combination of factors. It is like a comprehensive. It includes, when it comes to role of environmental factors for physical growth, it's nutritionally important, economic status, health access, environment pollution, psychosocial influence, everything matters a lot. So in that, if you take nutrition, I've already said, recent study by Lucknow, from a very good study that is published in BMJ and Polos. It is said clearly about cognitive dysfunction, prevalence also they said, and as well as specific deficiencies, how it is affecting the physical growth. So we should focus on next slide, please. Next slide. So we should physical growth and malnutrition, either microdeficiency, macrodeficiency. And if you take the overall data in Southeast Asia, that India still the prevalence of malnutrition is very high. And it leads to, especially in adults, late puberty. The economic status and nutrition goes hand in hand, and they're definitely they can't affect the healthcare and safe environment is not there. And they say face a lot of changes when it comes to nutritious food. Coming to the physical activity, we all know with a lot of academic stress and with globalization, urbanization, no space for anything. Even if playgrounds are converted or in the lakes are converted into the malls or whatever it is, no physical activity or is not given any importance in the school also. Yoga days is just celebrated on the day, otherwise no other. It is a lot of sedentary lifestyles and hooking onto the gadgets are more given importance. Whatever said it on in forums like this, but it is not into practice when it comes to physical activity. Next slide. Next slide. So environmental toxins, madam has already stated. What I want to focus here is the endocrine disruptors. That's very important, that affects the sexual maturity and skeletal level. That is one thing. After that, climate and geography, those are staying in harsh climates may require different nutrition needs and their accessibility to the physical activity, the hospital care is also very low. For this, for everything, the health education, it's not that education of whatever they said, academic education, health education about nutrition, health, and that is very important, which is not there in any textbook. Even environmental history, we should introduce to our undergraduate or postgraduates. That's very important. Next slide, please. Next slide. So apart from that, it's just about the factors, nutrition, the other supportive measures, psychosocial factors. We know that we got the evidence that they are undergoing anxiety, depression, chronic stress, academic stresses, achievements, everything running by the horse. That leads to either physical or mental growth that should be addressed. And here the family dynamics, peer relationships, scholastic activity, the teacher-student relations, everything matters a lot. For this scoring comes to a good play, and we should really focus on these social factors. Factors if predisposed are influencing their whatever the mental issues or the stress. And cultural practice, of course, there's a lot of nowadays it's been with the whatever the media influence is coming down. Still, the diet, exercise, and body images are there, and different cultural practices do influence on their growth. Coming to the urban and rural, it is urban and rural, the detrimental factors are changing. Whatever the rural, it is not the rural. There also, it is all the marks have come. There, whatever the abuse or whatever the toxins, everything is also raising. But it is opportunities makes a big difference, and that's so the whatever the effects are being seen. Coming to the last one is substance abuse. It is like we call it as Urta Punjab. Even Bangalore is also Urta Bangalore. Hyderabad, every cities are becoming. And if you see every day, past 1 year cuttings I have, I'm coming out with a small book shortly in November. It is getting released. Only on substance abuse are written in Kannada. Lot of issues. I came to know only after started writing on that. Tobacco, alcohol. It is not tobacco, alcohol. Drugs are easily available. Just with a WhatsApp group, they are accessible, and we can see the effects of that also. So these are the effects, the physical effects. What we see: mental, physical, social effect, cultural practice, and their influence, urban and rural, and we should not forget about what's rising is on substance abuse. Thank you, sir.
You brought out nicely the 10 points of effects of environment on adolescent health, and a lot of eye openers, and particularly the last point that you brought about substance abuse is going on very rapidly, and it has got a very, very telling effect on the health of our adolescents. A very fact that world over it is going high and high, and I think a lot needs to be done in this field about this. So next we go to, we are coming to the end of this thing, another question or two, and Dr. Chenthil has already covered a lot of ground on this question in his initial presentation itself, the role of environmental factors. And sir, if you have to add anything, there are one or two slides here that you could show. These are already covered by you: the biological environment, physical environment, psychosocial, etc. And nicely you brought out for this flow chart on biological inheritance, the genotype, and the circumstance, age, and stage in pre-adolescent and adolescence.
So this is this aspect I have to deal, sir.
Yes, sir.
So
please go ahead, sir. Please.
So these are actually the social issues and environmental issues. These are pertaining to the family. It happens because there might be nowadays the rates of divorce have increased, and single parent is there, and the broken families and the rise due to alcoholism. And of course, the road safety is not there, and our vehicles are becoming very posh, and so many CCs have been increasing, 350cc, 500cc, but the safety is still lacking. And of course, our adolescents are vulnerable in taking risk-taking behaviors, like they try to go into dangerous places and just try to show off their talents, and without knowing the consequences. So we see that the suicidal tendencies have definitely been increasing due to the academic pressures and lots of stress on the adolescents by the peer group, by the society, social media, and so many things are happening, and violence has also been increasing. These social factors have to be curtailed, and we see that because of the unprotected sexual activity, it results in teenage pregnancy. And of course, we know that smoking, alcohol, and drug use is rampant, as Dr. Somasegar said. Even it is available very freely, and of course, marijuana is on the rise here in our parts. And we see that obesity is definitely they are being ridiculed, and there have been so many social problems they are facing. And of course, inactivity, of course, once the adolescents attain the 10th, 11th, and 12th stand, they become sedentary. And so they have so many issues. Of course, the body image issues of the early adolescents are there. And we know that adolescents are harassed. We know that so many issues are cropping up because of the vigilant media. The sexual harassment problems are coming to the light, and POCSO Act is being coming. So physical aggression and so many stances, whether ego clashes, so many things are coming. So cyberbullying, we must definitely see that so many games and other things the adolescents are prone to, and mental health issues are coming. Of course, the air pollution and UV radiation have been covered, sir. Next slide, sir. Next slide, please. So the global warming has been dealt. We know that the earth is in fever. So once the fever is there, we have to take certain measures, and only then the fever will come down. And of course, our earth will spring back to normalcy. Climate changes also is happening. We have to take enough steps. And of course, we see that the urbanization, our urban centers are overpopulated, and they are facing the constraint by so much of urbanization and westernization. Our children are going to so many habits like living together, pub culture, and all these unprotected sexual activities, and facing the consequences. So we feel that the water pollution is already dealt with. Ocean acidification, we are going to land up in food scarcity and problems in later. So the loss of biodiversity is going to be a problem because of deforestation, and we are losing so many species. So the environment of green space has been increasingly recognized as an important factor and the determinant of the health and health behavior of the adolescent by the physical activity, physical health, and mental health, which affect all the things. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Chantil, for that very brief and very comprehensive description of what can happen to the adolescents in all of these problems. And we have been talking about problems. We have been talking about what can happen and what are the issues that plague adolescent health. Now, are there any solutions for these particular issues? And to dwell upon this, I call upon Dr. Anand Keshavan now about what are the ways to address these issues that we talked about the past about 40 minutes or so, and at various levels. So it could be at the level of the individual, family, community, the government, and also international levels. Request you to be a little brief, sir. I've already got a message from the organizers about the time constraints. So here we go, sir. Yeah.
I will go very briefly and very rapidly, sir. Next slide, sir. So as already mentioned, there are lots of rules are there in India and abroad, but in India we are not strictly following that. That is the problem. So there are rules to control air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution. So there's so many rules are there. And also we have our own role at the individual level, at the family level, at the community level. We cannot blame government alone, international alone, but we can do a lots of things. Next one, sir. So there are so many important environmental acts there. Indian Forest Act, Mining and Mineral Act, Water Pollution Act, Forest Conservation Act. There are lots of rules and regulations there. To an extent, it is doing lots of job. And also, for example, we can see the Noise Pollution Act. There should not be any. Next one, sir. For example, we know that guidelines to use of phones in vehicle, but we are not following it. There should not be a rule that start within the area of 100 meters of any hospital, school, universities, or court permits must be declared as silent zone. But we are not doing. So there should be minimum noise shall be made in the 100 meters range. And also there is some regulation, daytime noise, nighttime noises. So there are we have to keep our own all these rules rather than we have to blame the government. Next one, sir. And also two important aspects about we can do is that one is electric vehicle. It will reduce a lots of air pollution. It will reduce a lots of noise pollution. So it is, you can see that here this emission from the vehicle, you can see the gasoline, you can see that around 10%, but as the emission from plug-in hybrid vehicles, all electric vehicle very, very minimum. Similarly, you can just imagine about noise pollution. These are the things we can make a change. Electric vehicle. Next one, sir. So get to control greenhouse emission and air pollution is from the pollution from the road vehicles. Transportation causes 27% of green gas emissions. More than 50% of carbon monoxide, nitric oxide, 25% carbon hydrocarbon from a vehicle. So by converting to electric vehicle, here again you can see here the minimum emission from electric vehicle, whereas a diesel and gasoline vehicle you can see much. Next one, sir. So my request is that you are all shift to electric vehicle if possible, because it's energy efficient, less emission, no noise pollution, lower maintenance, user-friendly, spacious, energy cost per kilometer less, but government subsidies there. I think this is one method by which we can reduce air pollution. Next one, sir. So energy pollution in India mainly depends upon coal from 46% and oil from 21%. That means 70% is mainly leading to so much pollution. So we have to use some other method to produce our energy. Next one, sir. Here lies the another important, just like our electric vehicle. Another thing we can do is that use of wind energy, solar energy. We can say it is eco-friendly, it's economical, it's a renewable, zero carbon emission. So it is time to change your vehicle to gas vehicle, electric vehicle. It is time to use the electric and coal and other energy source. It is time to shift to solar. Next one, sir. It's simple. Every house is very simple. It's biogas or solar electric production. You can see here windmill also. You can see that. So solar, windmill, biogas production. So it will save our environment very much, because we can do it. This is a method we can do it. And also next one, sir. I think it is last one. So
No.
okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Sir, nicely brought about that there are rules, but most often it is said when rules are made, we try to circumvent them and we try to beat them. I think more books are written on how to break laws rather than the laws themselves. And that is a speciality of we Indians. And I have a small dissent note when it comes to the electric vehicles, which are the present electric vehicles I'm talking about, because they say that the lithium batteries that are used in the electric vehicles are a big source of pollution, because to dispose these lithium batteries is a big issue, and they have not found a good way of how to dispose these lithium batteries. And to produce lithium, a lot of human rights are exploited in African nations, in Afghanistan, etc. So there is a lot of this thing. So the next this thing would be the use of hydrogen as a fuel, and it is coming up in a big way. Particularly big vehicles like trains and lorries have already been made with hydrogen as the thing, and that is the future of clean energy. Thank you so much for bringing about so many factors on clean energy, etc., and how we can go about bringing these factors into our daily life. Thank you, sir. So lastly, we say that, adolescents, we are talking for adolescents. We are all gray-haired people sitting here talking about what the adolescent should do and things like that. But are we giving them enough rights, powers to exercise their own, wishes and whims in determining their future as regards these environmental issues? Geeta, can you, elaborate on the role of these adolescents can have in these particular environmental issues?
Thank you,
Geeta?
Kishore. Yes, I think next slide. So now always we talk about the negative aspect of the adolescent behavior. Here I am going to talk about the positive aspect. And definitely no adolescent healthcare talk will end without adolescent participation. That will help us to be successful in our agenda. So the role of adolescent in determining their future, role of youth in safeguarding the environment. All of you would have recognized who is this girl who is talking. She's a Greta Thunberg. Next slide, sir. So most of the adolescents are aware that they are the ones who are going to get affected more. So UNICEF had one drive, that is a youth for climate action. So they don't want to be passive victims now. They have started fighting back. And Greta Thunberg, in 15 years of age, she started that Friday for the Future, not going to school on Friday and getting part in the demonstration to demand a greater action from government to fight for the climate change. And millions of them are supporting. Next slide, sir. All over the world. So adolescents are rising and initiating their social movement. There are eco warriors are there. They like to tackle the environmental challenges. I told already Friday for the Future, and they are very much concerned about the anthropogenic climate change. That is a man-made climatic change. And they are motivating to act pro-environmentally. This drive is there everywhere in the world, right from Fiji to Tanzania to Sweden. Next slide, sir. In India, this girl, young adult, this is known as Satvika Sona Sridhar. She participated in this comic contest of UNICEF Climate Comic Contest, and she has won. And she has created a very important winning character, Light, a half tree, half human, who uses a special power to save the nature from warming planet. And that was an educational comic book. So adolescents are trying to raise their voices. They are good. Next slide, sir. Technologically, as well as their knowledge about the science, education, we all agree. So they are aware of this climatic crisis more than the older generations, but they are not involved in the discussion. So the policymaker, government should utilize their skill and energy in order to respond effectively. This is the one IPA's agenda is there. 1.8 billions. So there are so many adolescents all over the world. They can help us. We have got a great hope. Next slide, sir, from the adolescents. So they can start their own initiative like a Greta Thunberg. They can part of the environmental organization, reduce, recycle, reuse, save the resources. They can tell their parents, don't waste the water when you are brushing the teeth. Use the sustainable alternatives like electric cars. Then try to look for more eco-friendly alternatives rather than plastic. Buy the local product. No need to go far away. So you can save the fuel, decrease the meat and dairy consumption. They say that this waste of the, I'm not talking about non-vegetarian, vegetarian, that emits more methane, which leads to global warming. Only buy what you need. Otherwise, this overabundance is causing a lot of issue, and not to have food wastage, they have to change their behavioral management is very important. Next. So they can play a major role. They should be a part of solution rather not a pollution. The environmental science is a topic it's not been still taken very seriously. NCERT book, it is there, but it should be taken very seriously. They should be primed from the first, and some of the schools they have started, they should be primed. I think sir was telling already, G20 summit has discussed a lot about climate change and global warming, and they should take part in many organizations are there. In India, there are many. See, Greta Thunberg, when she was doing, there was one girl, Ridhima Pandey. She was working alongside Greta Thunberg. There is Aditya Mukherjee, who was fighting for single-use plastic. There is one Haziq Kazi, just 15 years from Pune. He has tried to how to clean the ocean. So there are no dearth of their energy. We have to utilize that energy. Definitely, they get tempted to add to pollution, but now they will be a part of the solution, and by which we can achieve our SDG goal 13, that is a climate action. So lot of adolescents a lot of things can be done with the help of involvement of the adolescent. Not only we talking among each other, but we have to talk to them, what they want, how they want to get involved, because they are the one who are going to suffer more. So we have to think about that, and they are definitely getting involved. We have to encourage that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Geeta, and all my panel members. We come almost to an end of a very interesting, panel discussion, a very, very important wedding of two very important issues, that is adolescence and environment, with brilliant inputs from all my panelists. So to sum up, the key messages that I would like to bring about here is health sector, of which we are all part of, can play a very important role by providing leadership, advocacy, conducting research, influencing the policymakers like the IAP and all of our subspecialties. We can engage communities, reach out to other sectors to demand the health concerns should be made central and bring about changes in our environment. Chemical safety policies should be very, very strict, as Dr. Anand Keshavan brought about. So many acts are there, but the implementation level, it becomes an issue. Healthier environments could prevent almost 1/4 of the global burden of the disease. It is not only 1/4, maybe it's much more, that environment plays such a big role in the health of a community. The pediatrician, what should he do? Should get knowledge about different types of clinical pictures because of the pollution, and ask proactively, like Dr. Geeta brought out, the HEDS system of adolescent history taking and examination. Important question would be that what an adolescent can think about the nature, think about environment. A leading question can be asked about their particular involvement in a way. So it brings about, so if you ask a question of for an adolescent about this particular aspect, somewhere it will trigger some, thought in that child or the adolescent, so that he thinks better of the future of this thing. So history of exposure to pollution, etc. we talked about. So these are some of the key messages. So I would conclude by saying that it is evident that environmental issues have significant impact on adolescent, social, physical and emotional growth. Air pollution, climate change are just two examples, and so many other things were brought about by this eminent panel. However, there are ways to address these issues and promote positive social and emotional growth among adolescents. So you can take actions at various levels, like we spoke about, at the individual level, family, community. It could be at the governmental levels, at the state, the center, and most importantly, international levels, because this environment doesn't respect boundaries. It spreads all through. It is important to remember that we all have a role in protecting our environment and promoting healthy adolescent development. Let us work together towards a bright future for ourselves and for the generations to come. Thank you. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. On behalf of the panel, Dr. Anand Keshavan, Dr. Chandil, Dr. Geeta Patil, Dr. Shemshekar, I take this opportunity in thanking both the AHA, the DIAP, and the Environmental and Child Health Group for giving us this opportunity to interact with all of you and presenting your viewpoints. I'm sure there are a lot of other things that we may not have covered, but this is a thought-provoking panel discussion, a very important panel discussion. Thank you very much, and I believe I need to you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you, sir.
very good moderation, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was, though you were the stopgap arrangement for the panel, you moderated it
Thank you very much, sir. You were really good.
enthusiastically.
Read the sixth.
That is also in short
No
notice.
shortage of enthusiasm. No shortage of enthusiasm.
That really
Thank you,
short
sir.
notice.
So,
No, it was basically because all of you helped me in bringing out all of these things. It was wonderful. Though time constraints were there, in fact, to tell all of us that we could, finalize this only at about 4 or 4:30 p.m. in the evening today, and that is when I sent the final presentations to all of the speakers. So you have done a wonderful job. Thank you once again, sir. Dr. Sharma, sir, take over.
Sharma, sir.
Dr. Chandil, is the moderator of the session today. Thank you, Dr. Chandil, for conducting this session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Let us move over to
Stop
the
sharing.
vote. Yes,
Stop
sir.
sharing,
Please,
sir.
sir.
Stop sharing.
Stop
Sharma, sir.
sharing, sir. Kishore, sir,
Vote
stop
of
sharing.
thanks. Okay.
Okay, just.
Okay. Okay. Am I audible, Chantil sir?
Yes, sir. Arji Patil, sir. You can
Yes,
go ahead
Good
with
evening,
the.
sir. Actually, as all of you know, the adolescence is a crucial phase where physical and mental health growth takes place, and environment plays an important role. And I thanks Central IAP to bring this topic, very important topic, on the adolescent platform. I thanks Dr. Upendra Kenjwadikar, sir, President of IAP, Dr. J.V. Baswaraja, Dr. Ramesh Kumar, Dr. Vineet Saxena, and all the AHA office bearer, Dr. Sukhanta Chatterjee, sir, Dr. Aryan Sharma, sir, Dr. Suhad Dhonde, and Geeta Patil. And I thanks the guest speaker, Dr. T.U. Sukumaran, sir. Sir has highlighted what is the importance of environmental history in the while we are taking the history of any diseases. That is very important because these adolescents, they suffer a lot of problem when they are exposed to toxic substances. And he has also elaborated the life cycle of effects of smoking on health, allergic environment, problems in ISSS study. I congratulate Dr. Sukumaran, sir, for bringing the study of ISSAC. Thank you, sir. And we had a nice panel discussions. Thanks the moderator, Dr. Kishore Vendur, sir, for timely management for such a vast topic, effect of environment on physical, sexual, social, and emotional growth. I thanks all the panelists taking their valuable time and preparing and discussing this topic. It was eco-friendly, what you call. I thanks Dr. Ananda Kesavan, Dr. Geeta Patil, Dr. Chantil sir, Dr. Soma Shankar sir, and I also thanks the senior participant, Dr. Kotwal sir, Dr. Alok Gupta, Dr. Geeta Galgali madam, Dr. Garg sir, and all the members and delegates. Thanks to Dr. Chantil sir, he has coordinated very nicely, and thanks to DIP platform, Akshita madam, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Soma
you.
sir, Alok sir, Sharma sir,
Thank you very much.
Senthil, Anand,
Thank
Kishore
you
sir,
and good
Kishore
night.
sir,
Good night.
Thank you. Great
Sant
discussion. I
Chatterjee
think
sir, Ajit Patil sir, Shamit Ghosh.
we need more sessions on this, sir. I think.
Okay.
We will come forward, sir. We are. Next year's Pedicons, sir, Sukumaran sir, our theme is only global warming and child health, no?
Oh, right.
Yes.
Theme of the conference, Pedicon conference.
At a Pedicon, yeah.
Pedicon 2024.
Yes, sir.
So next
So
year
we
we
are
have Geeta madam as a president also. Yes.
Yes, sir. So we will have a topic in our symposium also, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay.
Good night. Thank you, sir.
So,
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You can take leave.
Thank you, Sharma, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.